Hi, this is Erica Merrill, and I am the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I am very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a family and real estate law firm out in Worcester, and she's just amazing at what she does. She knows a lot, and we're very lucky that she's here to share some information with us today on DCF. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So we always like to start off with a definition. And I know everybody hears the word DCF and they have an idea that it's about children. And they probably get a really bad feeling in their stomach too. But what is the definition of the DCF?
So DCF is Department of Children and Families, which is obviously the acronym is DCF. We also used to call it Department of Social Services. So sometimes you'll get older people that say DSS, and I go, what? Oh, wait, yeah, you're talking about the same thing, because we just get confused. We've changed it over probably about 10 years ago now, but every once in a while you get somebody that uses that old school word. But basically they're an organization that's run by the government to make sure that your children are in the best position possible and that you're doing everything right by them.
I mean, that doesn't sound so bad. So how exactly do they do this?
They seem to get involved when somebody has some issues. So, generally speaking, they're not going to be involved in your lives. If you've never heard the acronyms, great. You're doing very well. If you have, again, don't worry. Don't be freaked out. Let's just know what your rights are so that we can move forward and we can do what we need to protect you. The biggest issues is that you're going to have either a mandated or non-mandated reporter to call DCF and say, hey, there's some issues. I think something's going on in this household. I don't know that the children are safe. I heard this. So you're going to hear these little tidbits that are going to be coming from a third party. And then DCF's going to go, oh, let's go see what's going on there. And that's basically what happens. Obviously, a mandated reporter is somebody that is required to make the report. So your prime examples are going to be teachers, doctors, police officers, obviously any medical facilities. Those are mandated. They are required to report any abuse or neglect to the Department of Social, see, I did it again. I do it too. Department of Children and Families. That's what happens. So the non-mandated reporters is usually a spouse or a disgruntled family member that's saying, hey, something's not right here.
But I mean, the worst that can happen is somebody that can't protect themselves, like a child, is possibly getting abused in some way. And I feel like it's a good thing to hear that there is somebody that can watch out for it if it comes up on the radar. So can you tell us what kind of things would come up on the radar?
Oh, well, again, it goes back to believability. And again, a mandated reporter obviously is going to have more believability because they're hearing this, they're seeing it. Obviously, we see bruises on a child. We see that the child has been injured. Those are obviously well-founded things that we're going, hey, red flag. Did the kid really fall off the bike, or did they hit that doorknob? Or, we all heard the abuse of domestic violence and stuff of that nature, where the wife is saying, oh no, I fell in the bathroom. I hit my head on the door, whatever it is. Again, is there similar circumstances happening with a child? Is it something that, I've seen handprints on a child. I'm grabbing them because they were falling off their bike. Really? That's a lot of force to be grabbing them. And why are you doing that rather than doing more of this and the holding of, oh my God, rather than let me grab you? So again, we're going to look at those circumstances and try to figure out, is that really what's happening? Are there other things that are going on in this family? The other thing is going to be, is it just abuse? Putting the child down, belittling the child, having arguments with your significant other in front of the children, drinking, doing drugs in front of the child. So again, all of those things are going to come into play. So it can be abuse, and it also can be neglect.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they see so many situations that there are certain signals that pop up for them that, might register some alarm for this situation or that situation, several of the ones that you just mentioned. I mean, so it's good to know that, we have some of the same people looking into this so that they can use their experience and they can, really, they know when to research more if it's warranted.
Absolutely. And I think some of the cases is just simply that they are, again, is it the same parent that's crying wolf every single time? Or is it something that they're going, wait a minute, facts are different party calling in. You're going to be able to get a feel from it from DCF standpoint as to what's going on and how to substantiate or to investigate those claims.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So, what can they do? What kind of authority do they have?
They have a lot of authority. Realistically, you have a legitimate reason to be concerned about them if they're in your lives. They have the authority to go into the court and convince a judge to take your children away. And your children will either be placed in foster care or kinship care. Obviously, those are the extremes. But they have the authority to say, hey, I'm going to make recommendations that you go to a batterers program, that you go to counseling, that you go to AA meetings, that you don't abuse your child. They have a wide range of things that they can do. Again, they're looking out for the best interest of that child. I get it that you're going to sit there and say, but I know better. You may know better. But guess what? Sometimes you have to jump through those hoops to prove that you're not the person that they say you are. So it's just something to be aware of, that they can ultimately take away your children. And if they don't, they're also going to get a say with the court. So the judge is going to listen to them and say, DCF worker, what do you have to say about this family? And they will listen to everything and they will say, what are your recommendations? Those recommendations are going to carry weight with the court.
I mean, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm just wondering, what can they find? What's unsubstantiated? Because like you mentioned, it could be someone that just doesn't like their ex and they make things up just to get back at them. Because, hey, all you have to say is that a child is getting hurt and all of a sudden you're immediately under suspicion and sometimes arrested before they can find out what really happened. Because the worst thing that can happen is that they don't act and then a child gets really hurt or maybe even dies because of that mistake. So, I mean, I understand why it can be like jump to the conclusion kind of situation, but let us know like what happens in each of those situations.
So obviously, once they get the call, they're going to do a preliminary investigation of their own, and they're going to basically listen to the evidence, if you will, by way of a telephone conversation with the person, and they're going to either screen it in or screen it out. So that's the first thing. Is it even warranted for us to even go to the next step? Say, for example, they say, yes, let's go to the next step. So now it's going to be screened in. Now they're going to do a report and they're going to do an investigation over the next 10 days to see whether or not it is a supported claim, i.e. they found that abuse or neglect, or it could be also be a substantiated concern. So a substantiated concern is, I'm not sure it rises to a level of abuse or neglect, but I have concerns that I'm not going to just close this case and we're going to walk away. So it's that medium ground where we're going, yeah, we're not sure. We need to find out more information. And the substantiated concerns are going to be treated as if it was a supported claim, and they're going to give you a family action plan. Again, all those tasks that we just talked about, they're going to make you jump through some hoops, but they're going to get a better sense of who you are as a family. Maybe it was just a fluky situation. Maybe it wasn't, but that's what they need to find out. So they're going to do a complete investigation and they're going to write a report saying it's supported, not supported, or substantiated.
So if it's supported, does that mean the kids get taken away right away, or what happens?
Absolutely not. Don't be afraid that it's going to happen. There can be abuse, there can be supported neglect, and guess what? Your kids aren't going to be taken away. They're going to be taken away when I've already told you from DCS perspective that you're not to do these things. I told you not to drink with the children. I told you not to fight with your girlfriend in front of the children. oh, wait, our case is still pending. And 3 weeks later, you're doing the exact same thing. Well, now you're not taking me seriously. Now I may very well try to take your children away. So again, you're going to get a little bit of a knock it off, don't do it again. Then, hey, really knock it off, or hey, it's so extreme that I'm going to immediately take the children away. So yes, even if it's supported, don't freak out. Doesn't mean that they're taking away the children. Does mean that you should be consulting with an attorney, but you want to make sure that you're not freaking out for unnecessarily at this point. You need to find out what's going on. How many times have they been involved with you? Has your case previously been closed? Is this a first time thing? Is it to the extreme? Again, if we're talking about, hey, child is being sexually molested, chances are the child's going to be taken away. Obviously, for argument's sake, hey, we attempted to kill our child. Again, child's going to be taken away. I think though we all know that those are the extremes. But again, I fought with my boyfriend in front of the children. Is it going to rise to a level? Not unless you're doing it multiple times and DCF has told you and you're not following directions.
I mean, and that makes, you have to have levels. You're right. I mean, if it's something small, not a big deal. But if somebody almost dies, I mean, that is a big reason to take someone out of a situation right away and then ask questions later, because you just don't know. I mean, I have several friends that work in the field and they have so many nightmare stories. So, I mean, what can someone do?
You know, again, it's going to be looking at what do you need for parenting skills? That's really what it boils down to. What do you need? DCF is there. They, you know, if they're in your life, use them. They've got a wealth of resources that we can use them for. So if it means, hey, I'm having, you know, issues with alcoholism, hey, I'm really having a time struggling and I really know I need to get away from my ex, but I don't know how to do it. Hey, I know that I need to be a better co-parent with this person. Whatever the case may be, use the services that they provide. So first and foremost, use their services. Go outside of what you need to figure out, hey, I need counseling. Do that. So if they're not involved, do that now. Do that before they even get involved. But once they're involved, they have a wealth of resources. And guess what? That counseling list isn't long. You're not really on a waiting list when you have DCF involved in your life. You're at the top of the list now. And you might get called in 2 weeks versus, hey, I called the counselor and my waiting list is 6 months. So again, they have those resources that are going to be readily available to you. Utilize them. Don't look at it as these people are prying into my life, but these people are trying to help me become a better person. And if I can become a better person, I can become a better parent. And is it my child going to benefit from that? Yes.
So what are fair hearings and what happens at them?
So if the DCF has determined that you are found neglectful or abusive and it's a supported claim, you may want to file an appeal. An appeal in this case is a fair hearing. So a fair hearing is, in my opinion, not very fair, but putting that aside, that's what they call it. You're going to go and you're going to have essentially a mini trial. It is not going to be in the courthouse. It's going to be in the DCF offices with a person that is supposed to be an independent third party listening to the evidence. And then you're going to have DCF that's going to testify. You're going to have your witnesses testify. And the hearing officer is going to see a copy of the report that DCF filed. So all of that's going to come into play at the end of the day. They're going to be basically the judge, and they're going to make a determination as to whether or not DCF was improper in supporting a claim for abuse or neglect. So that's the point of a fair hearing, is to have a higher authority say DCF screwed up or DCF was right in their ultimate findings.
Wow. I mean, so while this is happening, you may or may not have your child. I mean, how long does all of this take?
So the fair hearing itself, it probably takes about 2 hours. The decision, not so much. The decision is supposed to be done within 90 days. I can honestly tell you I have never had one done in under 6 months. And I think that's a huge disservice. I think they need to step it up. It's really sad when the attorney has to keep writing letters to the hearing officers going, what are you doing? You're putting my client's, entire relationship with their child in jeopardy. Sometimes we're waiting for that decision so that we can address it in probate court or in juvenile court. And until that decision is either overturned or sustained, we're at the mercy of, yep, it's supported. Yep, it's supported. Yeah. We need to have that conclusion, and we don't get that conclusion quickly enough. So that is probably my biggest gripe about the fair hearings is, again, the fair hearing officers need to do it timely, but yes, you will ultimately get a decision. You will get a decision in writing. You arguably can appeal that decision, although I have never seen anyone actually appeal that decision.
Wow. And I have to say this, like, one of the things about working with you is I feel like you as an attorney and as a human being, quite frankly, very empathetic, but also very intelligent, very strategic. You're not about to steer your clients wrong. So when there is a big scary situation in your life, like a divorce or like, someone questioning how your children are being taken care of, or many other things, I feel like having someone like you on like my side or whoever's going through the situation side is an amazing thing, and almost something that you have to do. And so I'm just wondering if you can tell everybody out there, like, what can an attorney do for you in this kind of situation?
Well, I think, whenever you have DCF involved in your life, regardless of what is going on in court and everything else, you should have an attorney there. You should have an attorney. The attorney can come to your initial meeting with DCF. They have the authority to be there. If you say, I have an attorney, I want them present, guess what? That social worker will have to accommodate you even for that first meeting. They have to let you have that attorney present. You can have an attorney at the fair hearing. So you can have an attorney throughout all of this stuff. It may or may not impact you, but if you have a case going on in probate court or in juvenile court, you want to have that attorney involved. You want to have that attorney to be able to, at least if nothing else, talk to the DCF worker so they understand what's going on. They understand what's being conveyed. Because guess what? Do you really want to go into court and have the social worker tell the judge, Mom is absolutely out of her mind? And you're going, I didn't know she was going to say that. Sometimes you, as the client, are going to hear what you want to hear. Us as the attorneys are going to hear what is actually said. And, we know how to read between the lines. We know how to ask those pertinent questions to the social worker that you, again, are going, yeah, I'm doing everything in the service plan. They said I'm doing great. Okay, yeah, but did they also tell you that you're still struggling with addiction and you're borderline on falling and having a relapse? Did they tell you that? Well, I already know that, but they're not going to say that because I'm following the service plan. Again, that's where an attorney is going to come in and go, we're reading between the lines, we're asking the relevant questions. At least if nothing else, we can guide you if you don't want us for the hearings, but I certainly recommend us for any court hearings, because again, that's something that the DCF worker is going to be very candid with the judge. And when they're very candid, yeah, sure, you could ask DCF questions if you know how to do it properly. And if the judge asks you, guess what? As an attorney, I'm always going to have the right to do that, and I'm always going to speak up. So again, just knowing what your rights are and knowing how we can interact with them and what we can do to protect you, that's key.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. And I just can't recommend you enough. So if somebody is in the Worcester area and they have a situation come up that has to do with family law, such as the DCF, that's one of the scarier things that can happen, because it does involve your children. And lots of times there are false accusations. And if you don't do this every day for a living, especially if you don't do this every day, I wouldn't recommend it. And even if you did, attorneys hire attorneys all the time, even if they are in the same part of the law. I mean, other family attorneys, if you were a family attorney and you had this situation and you don't, you would still hire a colleague because you don't want to have your emotions involved. You'd like to have someone that takes a step back and can see things from the outside and help you see it clearly too. It's very hard to do that through the eyes of fear and anger.
Absolutely. I think you can't be objective on your own case as much as you try to and much as you say you're going to. I think the reality is it doesn't happen, or it certainly doesn't happen 100% of the time. So, you need to have that person that's going to take a step back and give you a reality check. And fortunately, maybe it is a slap in the face to you and you're going, holy crap, did they really just say that to me? But guess what? If it gets you on the right path, then we're doing our job.
Well, thank you so much. This has been an enlightening interview as usual. Thanks everyone out there for listening in this week. We appreciate you, and hopefully this information will change your life or someone you know's life for the better. And thanks again, Nicole, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.